Alrighty, everyone. Good evening. This is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys. Hey, we got kind of a fun one. We're going to be talking about some snow across the northern part of the United States. We'll take a little bit of a look at that on the surface map, and we'll kind of go through what could be happening over the next 24 hours or so with that system, albeit because it's covering such a large area, folks, we won't go into the exact details of it, but we'll kind of go through at least kind of a broad look with that system. Also want to give you guys a little bit of an update on the tropics. Last night we were talking about both Hurricane Timmy and Hurricane Otis. Well, Hurricane Timmy is still going. What about Hurricane Otis? Well, let's go ahead and talk about the tropics here really quickly. Now, for those of you last night who were watching, Otis was a Category 4 hurricane and was likely going to intensify more during the overnight hours last night, and it did do that. As a matter of fact, it became a Category 5 hurricane overnight and into early this morning, and then it made itself a little bit of a landfall in the Mexican coastline near Acapulco. Let's take a look here at how Otis is doing now. It's gone. There you go. That's the satellite imagery down there below. You can see a little bit of faint circulation still left, but mainly just some showers and some thunderstorms in that area. That's right, folks. At around 4 o'clock this afternoon, it completely fell apart. Now, you might be saying, well, it was such a strong hurricane. Well, it ran into land and it got kind of beat up by the mountains that are down around that area. And believe it or not, this is not the quickest end to a tropical system in the East Pacific before. I mean, we've seen much stronger hurricanes also weaken pretty quickly around this area once they make landfall here. So what I'm going to do for you guys here really quickly is we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a look at the satellite imagery of Otis this morning. And you can just see how quickly it began to weaken once it made landfall. So let's take a look here. Over here on the screen here, and this is a loop from earlier on this morning. Let's take a look here. Here is Hurricane Otis. Now, take a look. There it is. You can see the well-defined eye, very cold cloud tops. That eye went right over the center. And even in this short time span, again, this was from earlier on this morning, around 7 a.m.-ish or so, at least when the satellite loop ended here when I saved this one. And just look at how quickly it fell apart. So yeah, it went from a Category 5 hurricane to rapidly weakening, and as we just took a look on the satellite imagery, not even 8 hours later, folks, that's what it looks like. That's pretty impressive. So again, it's not unusual, especially with these East Pacific hurricanes, when they do make landfall in Mexico, to just rapidly weaken, and that is the case of Otis. So very strong hurricane, looked very nice last night, but now there is nothing really left of it. All right, let's go ahead and on over toward the Atlantic Ocean, and let's take a look at our good friend Tammy. Tammy was a little bit stronger earlier on today. She actually did look pretty nice on the satellite imagery earlier on. However, she is beginning to exit the atmosphere that allowed her to intensify a little bit overnight. She got up to about 105 mile an hour winds, so still within the Category 2 range. Now down to about 100 mile an hour winds, and it's probably going to taper down a little bit more as we go through the overnight tonight. It's going to be entering into an area with just a lot of increased wind shear. The National Hurricane Center is expecting that ultimately here with Tammy is that she is going to begin to lose her tropical characteristics, likely becoming subtropical system by the time we get maybe even towards tomorrow afternoon. Now, it might still be at hurricane intensity by that point, but then it's likely going to start to weaken, not really moving much. The wind shear is really going to beat it up, and it's also going to be interacting with a frontal boundary that actually is already kind of around that area to begin with. So hurricanes, folks, the general idea with both of these systems is, as I mentioned before, for as strong as hurricanes are, they are incredibly fragile, and it does not take much to weaken them. In this case of Tammy, like what we saw with Rena a couple weeks ago, wind shear will destroy your hurricane. Hurricanes just do not like wind shear. With the case of Otis, big mountains, land mass. Tropical systems don't like land. Even though they hit land sometimes, they don't like it, and they often begin to weaken. Again, these things are driven just by the amount of moisture over the oceans, the warm temperatures, latent heat effect, everything like that. But when they hit land, they don't go very well. So there's Tammy. Tammy probably not going to be getting anywhere near the mainland United States, maybe getting a little bit close to Bermuda over the weekend. but again, probably won't be quite as strong as what it is now when it does so. Alrighty, folks. Well, as mentioned, we have ourselves some active weather going on really across most of well, good half of Montana and parts of North Dakota. Let's go ahead here, folks, and we'll just take a little bit of a look here at the radar, and then we'll take a look at the surface map here and kind of walk you through what's going on. So here is the winter storm warnings, at least in the United States, that are in effect. That includes a good portion of, as mentioned, Montana, as well as going into North Dakota, Minot, Dickinson. Winter storm warnings there, same thing for Bismarck, all the way to Jamestown, and then going up towards the Red River. Winter weather advisories across some parts of northwestern Minnesota. So we are seeing snow falling there right now. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead here and really quickly, I just want to make sure I pull up the cameras that I have up here. We'll take a look at a couple images here. Let's go ahead and we'll start off with a place called Montana. This is one of the cameras out there. I'll go ahead and flip back over the screen here. Again, snow has kind of since subsided there a little bit, but you can certainly see that there is, well, a good amount of snow there on the ground. Now, where is it snowing right now is going to be all the way over in North Dakota. Take a look at that picture there. This is over by the Williston area. Exact location, I do not remember where this particular one is coming through, but again, it's around the Williston area, and it's still snowing there. Looks like a little bit of a wet snow too. So let's go ahead here, and folks, and we'll take a look over at our good friend, the latest weather map, and we'll go ahead and talk a little bit here about, give me a quick second here, I gotta flip the old screen here. We're gonna take a little bit of a look at the system really quickly here. Just wanna make sure that I get it up. All righty, there we go. Okay, let's take a look here at our good friend, the surface map here. Now, I think it was last week, we talked a little bit about the station, the surface plots, all those little symbols that you see there on this map here. We won't go into a lot of detail with that, but kind of the main one to keep an eye on are the red numbers. Those are temperatures. Now, mind you, this was a little bit ago, but let's talk about this air mass here. So there's this nice area of high pressure that actually extends further back up towards the north across the Yukon and eastern Alaska area. That's kind of the parent area of high pressure, but enough of it has kind of seeped its way down the mountains, and we have kind of this secondary area of high pressure across the Canadian prairies. Now look at the temperatures associated with this too. Mind you, folks, it's only October 25th. 16 degrees in parts of southern Alberta, 15 degrees. This is Fahrenheit, folks, not Celsius. I know they use Celsius in Canada, but this map's in Fahrenheit. Look at those numbers, though. Those are in the teens, and it's the middle of the afternoon. Notice, though, on the other side, take a look at these numbers back here. Not quite as cold. Lower 40s, upper 30s, or lower 40s, upper 30s in a lot of areas. As we talked a little bit about last night, this is a really good temperature gradient. Now, we'll take a look at the upper levels here in just a quick moment, but let's just kind of talk about the surface here. And basically what we have is a very tight pressure gradient. There's a lot of things going on. Long story short, we have colder air mass up to the north and a warmer air mass down to the south. And this is creating a really tight gradient here. And in this type of setup, we oftentimes will see precipitation along that. And I'll spare you all the atmospheric details for it now just because of time. But long story short, that's kind of what's going on. And actually, the temperature gradient will slope back a little bit in this type of a setup. So you have that warmer air that's being lifted up over that colder air. Now, we've talked about this many times before. Colder air is always the predominant one. It's cold, it's dense, and warmer air tends to be less dense. Okay, so that warmer air cannot move that colder air, so it has nowhere to go but up and over it. So that creates, again, kind of a stable atmosphere. But in this type of a setup, what that will also create is kind of that stratiform precipitation there. Again, don't really see much in the way of thunderstorms with this setup or, of the like, but we will see kind of steady precipitation. So that appears to be kind of what's going on here, at least a little bit, across parts of Montana and across parts of North Dakota. Now, at the same time, we have this frontal boundary that's there, and it's a very noticeable frontal boundary. Again, those are some pretty decent temperature contrasts, not just locally, but, broadly across, this whole area here. So it's not just a local temperature gradient, it's kind of a large one. Not only that, but we have the upper level trough that's associated with all of this. And that guy is trying to make its way into the Pacific Northwest. Now, a couple weeks ago, we talked about, kind of the upper level patterns here. Now, we'll kind of go over this briefly here. And again, for those of you who might not be interested or don't understand, don't worry. We're just going to kind of talk about it briefly here. But basically what we talked about is in these areas where on the, in the areas of the upper level, let me try this again. In the areas here that we're looking at are where the winds begin to slow down. You can see how as they round the base of that upper level low, they kind of speed up. Again, there's kind of a tight height gradient there. And naturally, that air is trying to even things out, but it gets deflected over towards the east, the Coriolis effect, amongst other things. And long story short, it kind of creates this, west to east wind flow. So naturally, the winds are going to be strongest where that gradient is tightest. But you can see how those winds begin to kind of lessen up a little bit. That's an area of upper level divergence. All right, what does that mean? Well, it means in that area, the air is kind of spreading out. It's kind of, more or less leaving a certain area. So at the surface, especially when we have a setup like what we have, where we have, really tight gradient at the surface, some of that air is trying to lift and it's going over the cooler air. It's got a place to go, and that is higher up. So it kind of helps to keep the thing moving. It kind of helps to keep the system moving smoothly. I mean, if there's no room for the air, it can't keep lifting it. Now, so this whole area is kind of a good area, of some weak upper level divergence. And basically what that translates to at the surface is these little waves of low pressure that you see here. Again, a couple centers of them here and there, but not necessarily a strong, specific center of low pressure, technically. But, these little waves that are moving along it. And again, that's what's kind of helping to produce that precipitation. So we got our very tight pressure gradient. We also got a very tight temperature gradient, very noticeable frontal boundary here, a little bit of upper level divergence helping this whole thing kind of to run smoothly. Now, at the same time, let's go ahead and take a look back here at our good friend, the upper level map. You can see we got our upper level low there, spinning around, and that, folks, is going to be hanging around for the next couple of days. But we also got this little guy down here. It's another little disturbance, more or less, here. Last night when we looked at this, it was kind of somewhat of a closed upper level low across parts of the desert southwest. It's now kind of weakened off a little bit, but we still have some of that divergence going along with that. So this is actually, to a degree, kind of a separate system here, and that is going to play a little bit of a role here. Now, we're going to talk really quickly here about the upper level charts over the next couple of days. And folks, I know this is a lot that you see here on this screen. These are all just, each one of these little boxes here are individual model runs, average it together, and we get this guy up here. So really, you just need to focus on this guy, the center image right here. All right. And again, what you're looking at on this is not actually winds. We're looking at our pressure heights again, as we talked about that a few weeks ago. But we're also looking at something known as vorticity, which is spin. Not really important, for tonight's discussion, but that's what you're seeing there. So it's not really wind. I just kind of want you to focus on these little black lines here, more or less. So basically, here we go. As we go through the overnight tonight and heading our way into the day tomorrow, you can see how that upper level low begins to push its way across parts of eastern Washington and Oregon and into Idaho. We also got our little system down here that's weakening, at least in the upper levels here. So let's continue to advance this here as we go through the day tomorrow. You can see how that little wave there really kind of weakens off. Now it's just kind of more or less this little short wave disturbance. Not necessarily too much on the upper level maps, but we know it's there. We know there's, we know it's just a little bit of a disturbance there. Again, keep in mind though, folks, there's that upper level low that we just took a look at a couple scans ago across eastern Washington and Oregon. There it is now. So again, also kind of weakening up a little bit. But what you don't see on this map here is the whole upper level low and everything continues up across the Canadian prairies. So what we're going to see are a few of these little just waves just kind of riding along it and helping to keep that thing, pretty present in the region. So with this upper level low across Canada, with that trough extending down into the US over the next couple of days, that is going to help to keep things pretty active. And take a look here. If we go based on this particular model, that's a very good upper level trough swinging its way through. So again, we got a lot of cooler air that's going to be making its way into the upper levels. This is a very good setup for having some active weather. Now, again, next couple of days, you can just see how that whole upper level low just kind of hangs around, get these little waves to move along it. That's going to help to keep some precipitation in. So we go back to our good friend, the surface chart here. Let's take a look down at the surface here. We got a little wave of low pressure right about there. Because we have our disturbance kind of swinging its way through, well, you get the idea here. On a side note, I have not given much attention to this in these chats yesterday, and I do want to point it out too. We also have a very good area of high pressure across the East Coast. At the surface, this is relatively important because, again, with the way the air flows around a high pressure, it's clockwise, so we got a pretty steady southerly flow here, bringing up some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and this high pressure is probably going to be hanging around for a couple of days. This is going to really help to kind of tighten that pressure gradient. So, as you guys know by now, let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast from our dear friends at the WPC. Again, we here at AWSC have our own forecast here, but there's a lot going into these chats here, so I don't necessarily have time to make a really pristine forecast map here for you, but we'll just take a look at theirs, and it does kind of help to illustrate. So this is going into the overnight tonight. Let's go ahead here, folks, and take a little bit of a look at how they have their stuff laid out here. So we'll zoom it in a little bit. Here's our area of high pressure up here, the one that we took a look at, that pretty cold air mass. Again, remember, folks, we have our whole upper level low across Canada, and that trough swinging down into the United States. That's going to be hanging around for the next couple of days. Meanwhile, we have our second disturbance down across parts of North New Mexico. That is going to be weakening, but again, it's still going to be enough to kind of help to produce some precipitation. And we have our good friend that I'm kind of obscuring, but our area of high pressure off the East Coast. Kind of a good setup here. So let's go into tomorrow morning and into tomorrow afternoon and see how things are kind of shaping up. So that high pressure probably not going to be moving much overnight tonight. Maybe actually kind of intensifying just a little bit more there too. So again, that air mass, is going to continue to stay pretty cold up there, relatively speaking. Meanwhile, we have our little disturbance that's pushing its way out from the desert southwest. Will be making its way into the upper Midwest during the day tomorrow. Meets up with that frontal boundary. We have kind of a good, little area of low pressure here. Not very strong, but that'll kind of be one of the more predominant waves as we go through the day tomorrow. What do you get from a lot of this? Well, we are expecting some good rain showers out across parts of the upper Midwest, as well as a continuation of some snow showers across Montana and, yep, you guessed it, North Dakota. So, pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and kind of advance a little bit into tomorrow evening. What's going to be happening? Well, again, there's our little center of low pressure. But you might notice this other guy down across Oklahoma and down north. Let me try that again. To the north of the Oklahoma Panhandle, over towards parts of eastern Kansas. That's likely going to be the next area of low pressure, and this one could also be pretty fun because this is going to be going as we head into tomorrow evening and going into the day Friday. Remember, you are going to be seeing that upper level trough kind of begin to start pushing its way as we go in, and that's going to help to kind of keep that area of low pressure down across Oklahoma and Kansas, and will eventually help it to kind of intensify a little bit more. So as a matter of fact, as we go into Friday morning, you can see how that area of low pressure pushes its way quickly into the upper Midwest. Take a look, that high pressure finally gets a chance to move in even more so, and that's really going to help to bring in some below average temperatures. That low pressure continues to track its way over to Canada. Cold front begins to advance more steadily. Area of high pressure really begins to take over as we head our way towards the weekend. Don't know why I forgot what day we were on. Geez, it's been one of those days. So for those of you who kind of want to look a little bit what this looks like a bit more animated, you can kind of see here we just got these waves of low pressure tracking along. And there we go. Main area of low pressure right there when it meets up with that upper level trough, swings around. And then we could be having some more fun as we head towards the weekend. Because remember I told you that upper level trough is really going to be pronounced as we go into the weekend? We could have yet another area of low pressure trying to develop, and that one could also help to bring some precipitation, some rain showers, and some snow showers. Okay, we went through a lot. That was a lot. It was a lot of information. Probably a little bit more than I wanted to do. I know we kind of went through it here pretty quickly. So let's go back to our good friend here, the radar imagery, and let's take a look at some of that precipitation, folks, that is happening around the area. We're going to go ahead and shut off the alerts here as long as there are no objections from the audience. We'll go ahead and clear off the radar imagery. Just kind of take a little bit of a look here at some of this activity that's going on. Now, again, folks, this is the radar imagery. You can nonetheless, I don't have it switched over. There we go. Let's take a quick little look at it here. So again, There's kind of this little wave of snow showers making its way through parts of North Dakota right now. This will actually track its way into not only Saskatchewan, but maybe parts of Western Ontario overnight tonight. It could bring them a little bit in the way of maybe an inch or so of snowfall up around that area. And they'll probably see a kind of another at least another wave of at least some lighter snow trying to track up maybe through parts of North Dakota as we go through the overnight tonight. Again, with this little area, well, with this broad upper level low hanging around, this really tight frontal boundary, over the next couple of days, we are going to be seeing, on and off precipitation in various parts here around this area. Again, temperature is much colder back here behind all this. We saw those temperatures in the teens. It's a bit more mild out this way, but eventually that too will change, especially once we go in towards the end of the work week when we get that second area of low pressure to track its way up. So that is kind of what's going on in the radar imagery world right now. Alrighty, folks. Well, I know we talked about a lot. We went pretty long tonight. We're going to talk more about this, obviously, as we go into the day tomorrow. And then we're going to have a really fun time, especially once we get kind of that, more pronounced low pressure to track through. That could also be fun. And then again, as we head towards the weekend with some more activity. So with that in mind, folks, I hope you all have a good rest of your evening. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow evening for tomorrow's weather chat. In the meantime, keep enjoying that weather.